Hello, welcome to CivilNet. We're at the Armenian Center for Contemporary and Experimental Art, one day ahead of an exhibition that will be opening called Beyond Waiting, Stories from the Turkey-Armenia Border. My guests today are Arif, Yaman, and Anush, Babajanyan. The both of you are taking part in this exhibition. Arif, you are from Turkey, and this is your second visit to Armenia. If you could please briefly tell us what the exhibition is about.
It's about multimedia, like a combination of photography and video. So 5 photographers and visual artists from Armenia and 5 photographers from Turkey. You know, they both worked in Armenia and Turkey. So we collected stories from Armenia and Turkey and combined them with that multimedia. And so in the exhibition we will see the results. And we had an exhibition in Istanbul. That's the time in Yerevan. That's it, I mean, briefly.
Okay, thank you. Anush, the objective is obviously to promote dialogue. In 1993, Turkey closed the border with Armenia, and since then the border has been closed. What has it meant for you to take part in this? It's a multimedia exhibition, you are a photographer, you worked with your Turkish counterparts. What was the experience like for you?
This was very interesting for me, both professionally and personally. As a beginner back then in multimedia, back then I just used to photograph, and with this project we also took part in a workshop, all of us together in a multimedia workshop where not only a photographer taught us but also multimedia experts introduced us to this a new kind of media, and it was interesting for me to also incorporate video to bring together photography and video and sound. So that was interesting, and it worked out pretty nice together with my partner Volkan Doğar in this project. And on the other hand, it was interesting personally as well, getting to know Turkish people just as people, just as friends, and I think we really became friends in this process exactly because of the time of the workshop involved in the beginning of this project, the week that we spent in Istanbul, the 5 of us.
From Armenia.
From Armenia. That was interesting. That was time for building up relationships, knowing each other, and just talking. And I think that's also a big part of this project, to give an opportunity to people just to know each other, and then to create films together, not just separately. And I think our films also show that in the way that they're built, they're filmed together in couples.
That's right. Arif, you were saying, as you were saying, there are 10 participants, 5 Armenians, 5 Turks, and then you were paired up. Yeah. And as Anush said, you weren't the pair, your pairs were different. Yeah. But once you were paired up, some of those pairs, the Turkish-Armenian pairs, some went to Kars and some went to Gyumri. Where did you go?
I went to Gyumri with Mariana Vardanyan, Armenian photographer. And we spent time there like 1 week, and you know, exploring this city and meeting with people, trying to have some stories. I mean, I talked many people, you know, and you know, then I faced with Kima, you know, the character of our story, and she was a wonderful woman living in Gyumri, and her ancestors were coming from Erzurum. And that's the story, and you know, it was real touching. You know, she.
Because we do have a shared history, Armenians and Turks.
Yes, you know, and I faced it. You know, not in this project. You know, while I'm living my daily life in Istanbul, I always face it. You know, I talk to people that I know Turkish, but they have Armenian ancestors.
Right.
In the Turkey, so.
Right, and you know, as Anush was saying, that this platform gave you the ability to interact with one another, something that we don't often have enough of. Do you think that these kinds of projects are building blocks to increasing that level of dialogue and discourse between two nations who have a very long, sometimes very troubled history with one another?
Yes. And I think, I always say that the very importance of that project is that, you know, I don't believe that the words of politicians will never make a solution, you know. And but in that kind of projects, you know, as you said, we interact with people directly, and the most important thing, you know, the stories of people is very real, and very touching, and it's very high above everything that politicians says. So that's bring us to a higher level as being a human, you know. So that's the point which will make a solution, I think. I mean.
Anush, you were also in Gyumri?
Yes, I also were.
What are the stories that you are telling with your work that's going to be exhibited starting tomorrow?
We are telling one story, the story of a music school in a village called Bayandur, right at the Turkish-Armenian border. It's like 5 minutes away from the border, this school itself. It's a very small school. They teach about like 3 or 4 instruments, and they have about like 9 or 10 students, something like that. And it's about the fact that these children in this far-off village, which is actually close to the border, the way they can live, the way they can make music, in such a naive way, in such a humane and simple way, without knowing, or partly of course knowing, but without really caring about the problems that go on around this border that they live at.
Arif, you were saying that in Istanbul you come across people, you obviously know about the neighbor, Armenia, you know about history. What was, through this project, were there any discoveries that you made, something that was like a revelation for you, something that you can take away from this experience?
I'm afraid that they will sound like cliches, but you know.
It's okay.
Yeah,
a lot of things are cliches.
Yes, and you know, I came to Gyumri and talked to people, and you know, at first actually I was a little bit, you know, I mean, is it okay if I say I'm Turkish or it's not? And you know, at some point, you know, when we were walking in the streets and people were telling me where I'm from, and my partner was saying me, you know, don't say you're Turkish. But when I say I'm Turkish, they say, you know, brother, come here, you know, give a hug, something like that. And one day I don't forget it, you know, I was walking alone in Gyumri, and I went to some, you know, faraway neighborhood, and I was alone in there, and some guys were, you know, working with the cars, doing something, you know, and you know, they just make a ring around me, yes, and they say, who are you, where are you, what are you doing here, why are you taking photographs? And I said, I'm from Turkey, and you know, they started to talk Turkish. Yes, and you know, they said, you know, we make hug and things like that. They were working in Turkey, and you know, they have relatives there.
Right.
And that's really interesting. I mean, you couldn't imagine that, you know. Actually, me, can imagine, but you know, many people in Turkey cannot imagine that, how connected these two nations to each other.
And I think that's one of the important things about projects like this. How was it for you, Anush, going to Istanbul? Was that your first time being in Turkey?
It was my first time in Istanbul, but it was my second time in Turkey. It was exciting. It's a huge city, and it was. It's the kind of city that encompasses all your imagination. I mean, I didn't know much about it, and I pretty much fell in love with it. It was the magical place that I really wanted to return to, and I was really lucky to return there for our exhibition, which happened in Istanbul for the first time, and then is moving here.
Yeah, I think it's one of, as Arif said, the cliches that we all confront both as Armenians and as Turks, going to Turkey for the first time for an Armenian, the anticipation, the anxiety, not knowing because of a lack of communication. I just want to tell our viewers, the organizations that are behind this fantastic exhibition, and actually we're now at NPAK, the Center for Armenian Center for Contemporary and Experimental Art, and you just setting up still all the beautiful photographs that you've taken. It's been sponsored by the Hrant Dink Foundation, Galata Photography Academy, Free Press Unlimited, and the Youth Initiative Center in Gyumri, and some of the participants from the Armenian side are actually from Gyumri.
Two of them
are from Gyumri. And it's within the framework of the Multimedia for Dialogue project, which is supported by the Consulate General of the Kingdom of the Netherlands and the British Embassy. The exhibition opens tomorrow, will be the official opening, and it runs till September 7. How long will you be in Armenia? Will you be here for a few days to see the reactions of the guests who come?
Yeah, I will be here in for a week till the 1st of October. September, yes, September. So I will have time to see the reflections, what people think, the outcomes.
And just to wrap up, Anush, if I may ask, obviously this is your second experience in a similar format where Armenian, Turkish media, multimedia artists are coming together. Would you like to see more of this? Where do you think the next steps should be? I mean, could we expand on this?
Yes, possibly we could expand. I think I would not necessarily like to see more of these kind of projects because they're good, but I mean, they can't continue forever. Something else has to be done, something more expansive, like you said, which I cannot really imagine right now, but of course it has to be thought of, and it's being thought of. They begin out of questions and problems. If I say that, yes, let's continue this kind of project, that means that the solution hasn't been found yet. So I wouldn't like this kind of projects to continue, of course, in that manner. It would be nice if this kind of projects happened on their own without organizations gathering people, but with people just going and doing it on their own, just out of their natural interest and desire. That would be nice, and that would be a more logical continuation of this project, because our relationship and our getting to know each other is between us, and our films that we create are for the people, are what we want to show and tell about, including our own relationship. Our relationship is also in the films. So that should hopefully transform into a more natural and humane relationship between the nations.
Arif, and just a final question to you. How did you find out, first of all, about this initiative? How is it that you came to be involved?
Yeah, I mean, I was called from the Galata Photography Academy to involve the program because I participated there in the 2-year photojournalism program, so I have the connection. And when they told me about this project, I was very actually excited because that's with every part of it, that's a very huge project. When going to a country and knowing people there and taking stories and making a multimedia and using both photography and video and technically, of course. But they were all sounded fantastic. So and I hope the result is good as well.
I think so from what I see. I would like to thank our guests Anush Babajanyan and Arif Yaman, and just to remind our viewers that the exhibition Beyond Waiting, Stories from the Turkey-Armenia Border opens tomorrow, August 27, and runs till September 7 at the Armenian Center for Contemporary and Experimental Art. Thank you for watching CivilNet.